Hey, Catherine, this is Sonia. Can you hear me?
We can, Sonia.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Catherine, this is Bill Lynch. Can you hear me?
We can, Bill. Thank you.
Hey, Catherine, this is Jimmy Huck. Is the caller me?
Did you say that again?
This is Jimmy Huck. Is the caller me?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Him as well. Oh, okay.
October 13th, 2020. This is a regular meeting of the Kings County Board of Supervisors. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Here.
Richard Valley. Doug Verboon.
Here.
Craig Peterson.
Here.
Richard Fagundes.
Here.
Okay, all 5 members are present. We are ready to conduct business today. At this time, I'd like you all to rise for an invocation from Robert Needham, Kings County Sheriff's Chaplain. Robert, you there?
Holy, sovereign Lord, thank you for revealing to us the truth that a man can receive nothing unless it has been given him from heaven. Please give to each of us the humility of heart and mind to believe, to understand, to embrace, and to wisely apply that eternal principle to every aspect of our personal and our public lives. So much so that we will not be ashamed or reluctant to pray for your help, for your wisdom, direction, and sustaining grace in every situation we encounter. Please help each one of us to remember that Scripture, that every good thing bestowed and every perfect gift given is from above, coming down from the Father of light, with whom there is no variation or shadow of turning. Consequently, we acknowledge it as a privilege to pray for your blessing on our county supervisors and on all the employees of this beautiful county who work under their leadership. We pray for your guiding and sustaining hand in every decision and task they undertake. Please bless each one with the energy and the ability to serve selflessly with integrity and grace, joy, and thanksgiving. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues with us, we earnestly plead for your gracious removal of it from amongst us, for an abundance of divine mercy and supernatural protection for all of us, but especially for those who courageously put their own lives at risk in order to support the safety and sustaining of the rest of us. We include and primarily law enforcement, firefighters, medical care people, and those who provide for the necessities we tend to take for granted. All of this we pray in the saving and sanctifying name of Jesus. Amen.
Please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This time, we're going to go to unscheduled appearances. Any person may address the board at this time on any item on the agenda or any other items of interest to the public that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. 5 minutes are allowed. Thank you. Do we have anybody with their hands up? Anybody have anything to say? Okay, we'll go on now to next item, which is approval of minutes. Approval of minutes from October 6th, 2020, regular meeting. Moved by Supervisor Fagundes, second by Supervisor Neves. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Craig Peterson.
Aye. Yes.
Okay, 5 in favor. We approved as presented. Right now, we're going to move on to the consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar can be enacted by one motion unless chosen to pick one off by any supervisor. What is your pleasure?
Move it printed, Mr. Chair. Second.
Moved by Supervisor Neves, second by Supervisor Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Craig Peterson.
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
5 in favor. We've approved the consent calendar as presented. We'll go on now to the regular agenda items, and the first one is County Council and Lee Burdick. Good morning, Lee.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Supervisors. I am here working with our Agricultural Commissioner Sealer to bring forward to the board a permanent regulatory framework for the growth of industrial hemp in the county. County Council is offering this based on a revised ordinance that will follow the interim urgency ordinance that was adopted in early 2019. The county has had 2 grow cycles related to industrial hemp in the county. We've learned a number of things that would be helpful in giving the county greater, more thorough regulatory authority over this particular crop. The agricultural commissioner convened a very auspicious working group of experts who all had different perspectives on what needed to be added in order to beef up the ordinance and better protect the public safety and public health around the cultivation of industrial hemp in Kings County. Jimmy Hook, the agricultural commissioner, is on the line in order to answer any of the board's questions about the proposed revisions. I have been hesitant to call this a permanent ordinance because, as you know, the board always has the authority to amend it from time to time, but the intent is that it will be the ongoing regular structure for regulating the cultivation of industrial hemp in the county. That's all I have, other than to say that it is intended to take effect on January 1st of 2021, following the expiration of the current urgency ordinance on December 31st, 2020.
Thank you, Ms. Burdick. Do we have any questions from the board? Would you like to hear from Jimmy Hook?
Yeah, just maybe an overview of the major, any major changes that they did make.
Okay, Jimmy, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jimmy Hook, Agricultural Commissioner, Sealer, Kings County. So like Lee said, we were able to use the experience gained operating under the emergency ordinance to really fine tune the proposed final ordinance you guys see in front of you. Like Lee said, not final, it'll be ongoing. Some of the good changes we made, the major ones include, and there's some minor ones too, I didn't really include in this list, but we did an addition of setbacks for safety of crop protection. There's to be 700 foot for parcels with homes, 200 from non-hemp crops. And then we'll also have a provision in there that setbacks can be waived by a property owner. And those setbacks wouldn't be inclusive if the owner of the property owns both parcels. Added an ability for cost recovery at the discretion of the enforcing agency. Addition of security measures to deter non-authorized access. Some of the including factors of that would be a barrier, some sort of fence or V-ditch. We've made it pretty loose and we can approve the barrier in-house. I would also have a locking fence at entrance location. We clarified the requirements for indoor cultivation and we included a caveat to prevent glare. I guess there's some issues with greenhouses blowing in the evenings. We increased the signage to help identify it as hemp. Some of the signage requirements from CFA were really encompassing and it could be misconstrued if you didn't go in a certain area of the field. We added a provision for destruction bonds that'll be able to be refunded to the grower at the end of the season. Added a deadline for destruction of non-compliant crops, and added a responsibility for regrowth from any harvest or destroyed crops. I'd like to thank the working group, including Chairman Verboon and Supervisor Neves. I think all the expertise helped to make the collaboration process smooth. And I think you guys have a good cause for your consideration. I'm available for any other additional questions you might have on it.
Thank you, Jimmy. Any questions or comments? Good. Okay. I'll accept an action.
So moved.
Moved by Supervisor Peterson.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
We'll go ahead and abstain from this, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, we have 4 members in favor and 1 abstention. It has passed. Thank you. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Lee, for all your help. I appreciate the work went in on this. I know we had a lot of adversity from some of the local residents that were nearby in the field, so I think we addressed that, and we still were able to allow people to grow. It'd be good for the county.
Mr. Chair, just for clarification, that was a motion to waive the first reading?
Yes, it was.
Very good, thank you.
You guys do that, maybe the first reading?
Yes, you can, thank you.
Okay.
So that'll come back one more time for a final?
Yep.
Okay. I'll be ready to vote on that one. I just want to take a week to review some things on there.
Okay, Public Health Department is the next item, item B, and we have probably Nancy Gerking this morning.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. This is Nicole Fisher speaking, Nursing Division Manager for Public Health. I just wanted to make sure you can hear me.
You're loud and clear. Sound great.
Okay, great. Thank you. Today I'm here to present the fiscal year 2021 Maternal Child Adolescent Health Agreement funding application. The Maternal Child and Adolescent Health, or MCAH division of the California Department of Public Health provides funding for MCAH programs focusing on low-income mothers and children. The proposal for fiscal year 2021 application incorporates the funds to assist Kings County Comprehensive Prenatal Services Program, Maternal and Child Health County Allocation, Sudden Infant Death Program, Prenatal Care Guidance, and Prenatal Outreach and Education Program. The MCH application has been approved as to form by County Council, and the recommendation is to authorize the chairman to sign the fiscal year 2021 Maternal Child and Adolescent Health Agreement funding application. I am happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Nicole. Any questions or comments? Moved by Supervisor Peterson.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Neves. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, 5 members voted in favor. Thank you, Nicole. You want to continue?
Do you want me to? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is Ed Hill, Kings County Department of Public Health. I'm going to be presenting the next item.
Okay, very good. Sound good.
Today, we are seeking your board's approval of a new contract with KWPH, doing business as American Ambulance, for the provision of exclusive emergency ambulance and paramedic ambulance services to go into effect on November 1st, 2020. Health and Safety Code 1797 allows for counties with an existing emergency medical system to create one or more exclusive operating areas for the purposes of ambulance coverage. This was done in response to the volatile systems in the industry that existed before the implementation of these regulations. Counties have the ability to either enter into, to conduct a request for proposal or grandfather in ambulance providers. There's a great deal of controversy surrounding the grandfathering processes, so the cleanest way is to conduct an RFP. On January 15th, 2020, the Central California Emergency Medical Services Authority, which is the Kings County Local Emergency Medical Services Authority, in conjunction with the Kings County Purchasing Department and the Department of Public Health, released an RFP for ambulance services in Kings County. On March 2nd, 2020, the due date of the proposals, only one proposal was submitted, a proposal by American Ambulance. Upon review of the submitted RFP, the proposal was found to be in compliance with the requirements and deemed responsive to the request. American Ambulance has been the provider of ambulance services in Kings County since the year 2000 and has exceeded the established performance standards during the past 10 years. All of the pre-existing performance and contract standards remain in this new contract, with the exception of the following significant changes. The field supervisor position will now be required to be staffed 24/7, 365 days a year, and will not be able to be assigned to an ambulance. This will allow American Ambulance to be more responsive in several ways, such as continuous system monitoring, constant availability for multi-casualty incidents, customer complaints, and disaster response. There's also the removal of language for requiring a certain number of ambulances be in certain locations. This will allow for greater system status management. as the provider agency is responsible for implementing a plan that will ensure that all contract requirements are met or exceeded, and that all areas of the exclusive operating area will receive equal levels of service. However, in their proposal, American Ambulance proposed to maintain the current level of ambulances in the existing configurations. Language regarding the replacement of ambulance based on mileage has been eliminated. This language was found to be unnecessary as there has been improvements in the longevity and quality of ambulances over the years, and combined with regularly scheduled maintenance, the lifespan of these units have increased considerably compared to the year 2010 when the contract was executed. The contract will also be required to maintain the medical radio infrastructure and future enhancement. Currently, the upkeep and maintenance costs for these systems fall to the county, so this change will shift it to the provider. Language involving the Board of Supervisors in all appeals process has been modified to only include material breach of contract. This change has been made to relieve the Board of Supervisors from potentially having to become involved in minor disagreements that can be handled at a lower level. Any issues involving a material breach of the agreement will still be heard by the Board of Supervisors. The currently proposed appeal process includes multiple layers of oversight from the Central California Emergency Medical Services Authority, the Department of Public Health, and the Kings County Ambulance Commission. The ambulance rates have been modified to address the new system requirements. The Central California Emergency Medical Authority compared the proposed user fees to a February 2020 ambulance rate survey of local ambulance providers, which identified Americans' user fees as being consistent with the ambulance user fees charged by ambulance providers throughout the 4-county EMS region. Americans' user fees are below the rates charged in Tulare County and below the rate for its operation in Fresno County. The ambulance rates in the counties adjacent to the 4-county EMS region, meaning Kern, Merced, Stanislaus, and San Joaquin, are significantly higher than America's proposed user fees. The ambulance rate comparison was attached to this item in your board packet. This is a fee-for-service contract, and the rates established in this agreement are the maximum allowable fees that can be charged, which must be approved by your board. The county is responsible for in-custody ambulance transport expense, and these expenses were anticipated in the fiscal year 2021 county budget. Finally, the Kings County Ambulance Commission unanimously supported this agreement with American Ambulance and submitted a letter of support stating as such. County Council has reviewed and approved this agreement as to form. Therefore, it is recommended that your board authorize the chairman to sign the agreement with American Ambulance for emergency and paramedic ambulance services in the exclusive operating area for Kings County. This concludes my report, and representatives from both the Central California Emergency Medical Services Authority and American Ambulance are here should you have any questions.
Thank you, Ed. I noticed we have American Ambulance online with Todd and Ben. Would you guys like to add anything to this?
Yes, please. Mr. Chair, members of the board, my name is Todd Valeri. I'm president and owner of American Ambulance. And Ben Wheely, our Kings County Operations Manager, is on this call, and he's available to answer questions you may have. I'll make my comments brief. To begin with, I just want to say thank you for trusting American Ambulance to care for the citizens of Kings County. It is a responsibility and a privilege we do not take lightly. Trust is earned or lost, literally one patient at a time. And every one of the men and women who work at American Ambulance know that. I believe what we've proposed in terms of service to Kings County is really second to none. And it's something we should all be proud of. I thank you for considering American Ambulance to continue to be Kings County's ambulance provider. And Ben and I are available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments?
Question.
Budge Valley, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. This item here relative to the Board of Supervisors from the appeal process, when did that take place and why? I don't know who wants to take that up. That's city council smiling over there. I don't know if I said something funny, but it's a question. So anyone want to take that one?
Supervisor Valley through the chair.
I recommend Ed take that. Thank you.
I apologize. I was trying to come off mute. Supervisor Valley through the chair. That appeals language has not been removed. It's just been modified so that the board wouldn't have to be involved in, as mentioned, lower level appeals process through things such as requests or appeals for exceeding the 8-minute time standards, other appeals, minor breaches of the contract. So the appeal for material breach does still remain for the Board of Supervisors, as well as the appeals for the other minor breaches, as well as everyday operations appeals does still remain with the CCMSA, which is the Local Emergency Medical Services Authority, also with the with Kings County Department of Public Health and the Kings County Ambulance Commission, which is a board-appointed commission that also has oversight purview of the agreement, or the system.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. So just to get specific, Mr. Chair, language like that, I always keep my guard up because I want to make sure that, one, I'm always able to do my job. If a constituent in my district or the county, for that matter, has an issue with anything, and I do my job to take it up, I want to be very specific here if it's going to be put in language here. And I'll just get to the point. Does this mean that any one of us loses the ability to take a meeting with these gentlemen on an issue relative to an incident in the county with American Ambulance, and you're looking to fill that gap or get some information? Does it strip that away? That's my concern right there.
Counsel?
Supervisor, very good question from a legal standpoint. Endeavoring to avoid conflicts based on information that would be outside of the record for the other supervisors to make a decision on appeal is important. So long as all we're talking about with, let's say hypothetically, American Ambulance has a problem with the way public health is managing them. And they would come to a single supervisor and say, we have a problem. You are perfectly welcome to receive that call. You are perfectly welcome to direct them to a source that can address the problem. But you do not want to be rendering an opinion as to whether they're right or wrong, because that could ultimately be used as an allegation of bias against you if you sit in an appeals position and that matter came before the entire board. The other option would be, in order to protect the entire board's ability to rule on an appeal, would be to share that information through council with the other board members so that everybody is basing their decision on exactly the same information. But that's a very good question on keeping the board in an appellate situation unbiased in their ability to rule on an appeal.
Okay, so this, thank you, counsel. So this language through the chair only comes into effect if we get to an appeal process. It doesn't come into effect on the first layer where you get a phone call like we do on 1,000 other issues, and you do a follow-up call, whether it's to them, and then you report back to the person who had the issue. That's not what this applies. This applies maybe 2 or 3 steps down the line. Just like anything in an appeal process, we would stay out of it. Is that?
That's a very fair characterization, Supervisor, yes.
Okay.
And there could come a time, let's say you have assisted in the resolution of a dispute. It's resolved, but then later it comes before the board on appeal. You can disclose at that time the nature of everything you were told and the nature of what you did in full disclosure. So again, that the board is fully informed and there's no implication of bias.
Okay. Then, and thank you. And so the only reason why I asked that is because what I don't want to lose is the ability again to sit down with them. I sat down with the gentlemen who are on here right now 2 weeks ago here at the multi-purpose room, Mr. Chair. I reported that during the board member announcements about a week ago, I believe. And so that meeting was very helpful because it was an issue that affected me. It was my issue. And so sitting down with them and getting a very good update on new procedures and policy that American Ambulance has and how it impacts the city of Corcoran, Kettleman City, and Avenel to the availability of those first responders being there, issues with relative to the prison and how they also help with the prison, but takes away, I thought it would take away service from my district. When you look at the two prisons in Corcoran, the one in Avenel, I learned how they moved and adapted to that. And so for transparency, that information helped me to be very supportive in the vote that we take today. So I think that's what I want to put out there to the board. So, and then thank you again, gentlemen, for coming down and all your time and effort that day on there. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I think it's a good question. I think as we live in our community, we use these services as well. And sometimes they don't work to their 100% like they should. So if we want to ask a question as a citizen, we should have that right as well. So, but understand our barrier as a supervisor, know when to back it away and let someone else handle it. So
absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Any further questions or comments?
If there are no other questions or comments, Mr. Chair, move for adoption.
Moved by Supervisor Neves, second by Supervisor Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Chair Neves,
Yes.
Richard Valley,
Aye.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Craig Peterson,
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Well, 5 in favor. Thank you very much. Thank you, Todd and Ben, for being online. Thank you, Ed, for getting this done. Hopefully we won't need the ambulance for ourselves. So that's good. Okay, next item will be resolution for Breast Cancer Awareness Month in Kings County. We all have our pins today.
Oh, that's great. Hello again, Chairman and members of the board. Nicole Fisher, Nursing Division Manager for Public Health. I am here again to present the resolution recognizing October 2020 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in Kings County. Breast cancer is the second most commonly diagnosed form of cancer for women in the United States and is expected to be detected in 276,000 American women in 2020. Early detection is so important as there is a good chance breast cancer can be deterred with diagnosis and treatment. And this campaign educates people about the importance of early detection. There is no county cost associated with the participation of this resolution. And before my recommendation for this resolution, I would be happy to read the resolution to the board if you would like me to.
Like her? No, I think we're good. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, instead of the reading of the resolution, could we get like a 1 minute update on whatever our role is at the county health department and relative to the issue of breast cancer and the treatment of that? Just get a quick update so anyone who's hearing can learn, if they don't already know, on what we're doing besides just passing a resolution this morning.
Thank you. Nicole, did you get that?
Yes, I did. Thank you. I would be happy to talk about that. We are part of the process that we do in public health is health promotion in all aspects of us touching the community with either calling related to diagnosis or working with people one-on-one on breastfeeding. The different programs within public health related to WIC and related to our children's maternal services and our clinic, anytime we connect with a woman, we provide health promotion, and that means talking to them about the importance of early detection, of examining your breast monthly to ensure that there are no lumps or bumps that are new, which is how you detect early breast cancer, and the importance of following up with your provider. So regardless of how we connect with the person in the community, we are providing that guidance. And when our clinic was open before COVID, and it will be open again shortly, anytime we see women face-to-face, we also provide that information. And if they need information on how to do early detection, our nurses provide that for the women that we see.
Mr. Chair, could I ask, thank you, Nicole. Is there anything in that aspect relative to counseling with that when you're going through these appointments, or even if you find out anything that you don't want to hear, anything relative to being helpful with the mental health side of it?
Oh, definitely, Supervisor Valley. And I hope I'm answering your question. We provide guidance with women that we talk to on the phone and in person in terms of anything that is related to past experiences, a negative or positive, family history. All of that can cause trauma within the individual that we're speaking to. And so when we're promoting education with these individuals, we're very sensitive to the fact that there are past experiences or past traumas that may impact if someone is wanting to talk about, in this case, breast cancer or the risk for breast cancer. So we definitely spend a lot of time with the women that we talk to just to go through that and to really get to the point of, you know, where their hesitance is or where they need extra assistance or direction from us. So I hope that answers your question.
No, you did a very good job, Nicole. I appreciate it. I didn't even know how to be very specific with the questions. I just wanted to bring out just a little bit of information in the conversation on it for the public or anyone who's listening. Obviously, it's a situation that touches many of us at some point. And just I asked the mental health part of it, just being closer to a situation with someone I care about right now, and I hope we don't get any closer to this actual topic of it, but just seeing somebody going through the start and seeing the mental health side of it, the anxiety, the ability to do your job, or the ability to stay at work, how it could ruin your weekend, it could ruin your meal, that stuff right there for people who are listening. I just wanted them to know that, you know, that we know. I'm sure everyone up here could add something to that, but I just wanted the public to know, you know, that the county, we realize that it's real and it's more than just getting up here and passing some fancy wording. And I think you guys get what I'm trying to say on there. And so I think we all feel the same, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
It's important to recognize breast cancer awareness for the month of October. If it's not on your mind, it should be on your mind. And get yourself checked out, not only for all the women, but 12% chance it could be a male that gets it as well. And, kind of close. One of mine, I had double mastectomy at 60 years old, and it's very devastating for a man. Like a woman, it changed your life. So,
hey, Mr. Chair, on that, I'll add to that just for the man side, like you bring up. When I was in the Marine Corps, when I first got in, I had something that was bothering me on my right breast, and by the time 3 years into the Marine Corps, I could touch it, and it was the size of a golf ball inside there. So I went to see the doctor on base, and 2 weeks later, I got sent to Camp Pendleton. I had the removal of it was just a very large fatty tissue, but it bothers you, and then it bothers you after the fact, where the scars from the surgery and you know the fat doesn't come back in, and so you don't have that perfect appearance, you know, unless you go get plastic surgery for a man, which I'm not going to do, but I'll put that out there. That's important on the man, on the side for the man. You bring up a very important side of this point that no one really wants to talk about.
Only 1% for men, but still, it's very important for all women to get themselves checked out. So, any more discussion? I'll make a motion to accept this October.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nicole. Appreciate it.
Who's presented, Mr. Chair?
Moved by Supervisor Neves, second by Supervisor Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley,
Aye.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Craig Peterson.
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
5 in favor. We've now proclaimed that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month in King County. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on now to Bill Lynch from the Fire Department.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Bill Lynch, Kings County Fire Department, here this morning with a addendum to the agreement with Corcoran for fire services. As you know, the the Kings County Fire Department has provided fire services to the city of Corcoran for many, many years. This is an addendum to our current agreement, which expired on June 30th, 2020. Would extend this agreement from July 1st, 2020 to July 1st, 2021. One thing I do need to point out to you is it is a reduction of $102. I think that was for accounting purposes. And we held this flat for 1 year while Corcoran is making their decision on what they're going to do for fire services. So I'm here this morning to ask your board to authorize the chairman to sign the agreement for fire services with the city of Corcoran. And I need to point out that item B under recommendation needs to be dropped, as this amount has already been included in the upcoming, or this 2021 budget that we just approved. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief Lynch. Any questions or comments? Supervisor Peterson?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bill, I know it's you haven't been in the seat long, but from the standpoint of cost recovery on contracts, have you had time to review, costs and recoup of costs?
With the city of Corcoran, not specifically Supervisor Peterson. I've got Avenel contract and a few other things going right now, but we are planning to set some meetings with Corcoran to discuss where they're at in this process. If you noticed on page 2 of the agenda item, there is a set of milestones that were supposed to be completed. And I do not know if they have been, but I'm trying to set something up with them. Our costs continue to increase every year, and we're looking for, participation by the city of Corcoran in paying for those costs. So going forward, we're going to set something up with them to address these milestones and see where they're at, and hopefully come to some conclusion on what's going to take place. So, and I'll be reporting that back to you as soon as I can.
Okay, so you're asking us to approve the contract today without knowledge of the milestones?
Correct. And the only reason why I'm doing that is because this was in place and we haven't had an agreement with them since June 30th of 2020. So moving forward to secure that funding that we already have in our budget, I'm asking you to yes, approve this addendum and let me move forward with negotiations with Corcoran to see where they're at on their milestones, and then present that back to you at a later date.
Okay, and from the aspect of review of contract, and I guess this would be to council, if we find that for some reason the commitments that the city of Corcoran made are not met, this is one of those unbiased contracts where anyone can leave with notification at any time.
As far as terminating the agreement with or without notice, I have not looked at the original agreement. We looked at the extension for 1 year to allow these exploration of facts and circumstances to be explored. I can say that it is the commitment of county council that the identification of the full actual costs of providing the services that the county gives to Corcoran and I believe to the city of Avenel pursuant to agreement need to be reassessed with respect to what the full costs are. And of course, to advise the board that you have a duty to recover full costs. Otherwise, you're subsidizing the city's expenses, which could be concluded to be a gift of public funds to another governmental agency. So I appreciate the urgency of doing that assessment and assuring that if the board approves a 1 year extension today, that by the time a contract comes back, that it incorporates full cost recovery.
And Supervisor Peterson, I can answer that question on the termination. All the contracts with Corcoran and Avenel both have always been 30 days termination by either party.
Okay, thank you. So I guess being asked to approve this contract today, it doesn't commit us to some sort of violation of the gifting of public funds if we do approve this, knowing that there were benchmarks that were required and haven't been provided.
Right now, there is not enough evidence to show that the benchmarks would reflect full cost recovery or not, or whether the current contract under today's circumstances reflects full cost recovery or not. If the board wanted to do a retroactive assessment as to whether the contract that's in existence represents full cost recovery, it could, or it could be forward-looking and make clear that it will gather the evidence and the data necessary to ensure that the next contract with the city of Corcoran or any of the other cities for whom we provide these services are full cost recovery. So with that said, Supervisor, what I'm really saying is there isn't enough evidence one way or the other as we sit here now to say whether this is, whether the county has been gifting public funds to these cities. It's up to you to decide whether you want to explore that. But certainly going forward, we need to make sure based on current and forward-looking circumstances.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure that's accurate because, you know, on the last review of these contracts, we knew we weren't getting full compensation for the services that were being provided. And that was the course of, you know, the study that Corcoran was supposed to put forth. And now we're going to enter into another agreement, full well knowing that in past contracts, it wasn't a full cost recovery. And so I guess, well, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Valley.
Mr. Chairman, I think I'll ride a little bit with Sue Peterson on this from the fact that when I saw this on the agenda Friday, it caught me by surprise, and I was hoping it was going to be a pleasant surprise on the update because Sue Peterson's right. The last time it came around, it got really ugly, and we all know it got really ugly. So as I briefly went over this part, I thought to myself, whoa, somebody handled business this time to where it's coming before the board. But from hearing some concerns from my colleague here, it seems that that's not the case. So I guess my question would be through the chair to county council, what's your definition of full cost recovery? Are you saying the 100% of the cost of providing fire service there? Or are you like, what's your value? What your dollar value? What do you bring into that judgment? Because the words that you're speaking right now publicly here, you're trying to put a lot of weight on it. And so there's another side of this coin here. And that other side of the coin, I'm sure, is the legal counsel for the city of Corcoran. And also conversations that we've had before you ever got here. And so do you believe that your opinion differs from our previous county council? And then back, so it's two questions there. Your opinion on that, and then what are you saying it is full cost recovery? Are you saying the county shouldn't put any funds that way to get to your comments on gifting of public funds? Through the chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor. I appreciate the opportunity to clarify. There are multiple ways that the county can do a cost study to determine what the allocation of the county's total fire budget should be allocated to any individual city to determine the full cost of providing that service. But it takes a cost study to do that. Accountants have multiple approaches. They can do top down, they can do bottoms up. I defer to the accountants as to what full cost recovery is. If the county were to hire someone to do that cost study, then that creates evidence of whether, when you compare that cost study result with what we get under the contract, we know whether we have full cost recovery or not. I've heard rumors, I've heard opinions, I've heard viewpoints that none of the contracts we have with the city for providing their fire service at this time represent full cost recovery, such as what Supervisor Peterson said. I don't know that to be true because I haven't compared the contract with the results of a full cost study, which is what it would take from an evidentiary standpoint to draw that conclusion. But you're spot on to talk about if there is a discrepancy, then there is a very real legal issue about whether the county has been subsidizing the cities on that, which would be legally an illegal gift of public funds. Did I answer your question?
Partly, but what about the second part as far as for the county council that sat there but prior to you, if we weren't told about anything as far as public funds, are you communicating to the board that your opinion differs from our past county council on this specific issue?
I have no idea. I would be purely speculating as to what prior county council's opinion was or what it was based on, and that would be more important to me. I don't know what evidence prior council had in front of them to render an opinion, and I would prefer not to speculate.
Okay. Well, because I asked because in my opinion, you speculated a whole hell of a lot 5 minutes ago based on rumors, opinions, and that'll lead to a very bad road on a whole lot of other issues. But we need to be very clear here because this topic could get ugly here. And I don't think anyone wants it to. We've all been through it before. It got ugly. But county or whatever, these are all our communities. We're only as strong as our weakest link. Everyone has to have a fire service in one way or another, however we get there. I don't think the board, in our defense, starting from now, and I'll fairly take the notice that you put us on today. I'll take that. You put us on public notice. But in defense of the board, I would say that in the past, we worked from the standpoint on an agreement. There's give and take on the agreement. County's going to do this much. City's going to do this much. The county will back off here. The city, promises to do X, Y, Z. And that was a long process. And again, not trying to get there, Mr. Chair, but I definitely don't want to start off on the tone that county council put out. And I'm not trying to be insulting or disrespectful, council. If I am, I'll apologize. All I'm trying to do here is say, let's not start on that point there because it might be good for you, but it's not good for us. And it's not good for me when I got to go back and that's my hometown. And the same thing in Avenel. And then I got to hear from those council members and then that puts pressure on me to come back this way. And then I'm rocking and rolling with my board members and it creates more chaos. And it's just when I say it doesn't lead to anything good, it doesn't lead to anything good. So I would just ask that respectfully pull back until you're ready to give us a real opinion based on evidence. This is probably going to be a long discussion. I don't even know where it's going to go today.
Mr. Chair, if I just could, to the extent anyone on this board interpreted my statements as rendering an opinion regarding the cost recovery full or not, or gift of public funds or not, I apologize for not being clearer in my messaging. My point is, I decline to render an opinion on that point until the county has secured evidence one way or the other. But I would like to reiterate from a liability standpoint, Supervisor Valley is exactly right that it would be extraordinarily risky to leave any of these cities without fire protection service while the county determines what to do going forward on its contract.
And I appreciate that. So, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry, Susan. I appreciate it. All I'm saying is, in my opinion, it comes out is when you say gift of public funds and you look at us, it makes me think, whoa, are we being told indirectly that we're doing something wrong? But then you say that and it comes out strong. It hit me strong. But then you back out and say, but I'm not giving a legal opinion. And so that's what I'm saying. Let's just start the conversation like where you're leaving it right now. That's comfortable to start the conversation. So thank you for your clarification as well.
But Peterson?
Mr. Chairman, can I provide some information?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I was here with Supervisor Valley and all of you when we started those difficult negotiations and talks with Corcoran about cost recovery. We have always provided them data on their calls for service and amount of impact to the fire fund. They represent about 85 to 89% of the call volume at that station. The city of Corcoran does. The remainder of that is outside the city of Corcoran in the unincorporated area and mutual aid responses, which we do not allocate to the city of Corcoran. That is removed at the beginning before we provide them any data. So you're talking about a 85 to 89% operational impact, and that's all we charge them for.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Peterson.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I think the last time we had this discussion, it was, viewed as me picking on cities, but, our responsibility, our mandated responsibility is the unincorporated areas. Contracts are above and beyond that responsibility. And if we're not getting full cost recovery on contracts, we're taking away from the unincorporated areas fire. We've worked really hard here to get two-man fire stations. We have one of the best supplied, equipped fire departments as a county in the state. And those all come at a cost. And a lot of creativity, a lot of elbow grease. And so it shouldn't be, because it is contracts with two cities, I'm asking the questions. I would ask these questions about any contract we have. And cost recovery and the gift of public funds is just one of those things that comes along with that. But my goal is to make sure that, we don't handicap the unincorporated areas. And I'm not saying that we are, but we've worked really hard here and put a lot of effort and funding into creating a well-staffed fire department in this county. And I just want to make sure that continues. We know that, these are challenging times and they're going to get more challenging before this is over from a financial standpoint. And so, again, this is a contract and I would hold it to that. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. At the time, we have an agenda item to vote on, which is agreement for services for City of Corcoran. I know that we've been here before many times when it comes to our outlying communities. We've always taken a stance to protect our citizens over the contract. In the perfect world, it'd be nice to get reimbursed for a contract, but it doesn't always work out that way. Number one is we don't want to make any citizens go without this service. And so we continue to have an open line of communication, and I have full faith in Chief Lynch to keep that going for us. So with that said, do I have a motion to move forward?
I'll move here.
No motion by Supervisor Fagundes, and a second by Supervisor Neves. Supervisor Valley, you got a question?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to reiterate that there's real concerns that I've heard all the way around on the dais this morning, but just the real impacts here. I wasn't going to say it during the American Ambulance item, but we're past that now. But it's relative to this item. Like everything that came out of the last agreement, as it relates to fire, the decisions that we make and the things that go in the agreement or the perception that comes out of these discussions have real effects, meaning on my issue where my mother went down and we had we called 911 and I live across town and I get to her house before an ambulance or firefighters got there. The time that it takes in Corcoran and sitting there in the living room with her while she's laying on the ground and waiting to hear sirens and not hear them. And for it to take so long that I literally left my mother, jumped in my car, drove to American Ambulance to see an ambulance in the driveway and knock on the door and ask how come this ambulance isn't at my mother's house. And I won't go into why it wasn't, because it was taken care of by these gentlemen earlier, and I'm very happy with it. And then from there, based on what I'm hearing American Ambulance, I drive to the firehouse in Corcoran And thank God, those men and women were there, but they didn't get the tone on my mother because of these talks here and the cost of it. And I can go into detail with you in private, Mr. Chair, but this is a real important topic to me. And so when we're talking about costs, you're talking about firefighters not able to get a tone. Now, when I knocked on the door, they just jumped off. They took off straight to my mom's house. They helped her until the ambulance got there. And I'm very thankful for them. And if they would have got the tone, they'd have been there before I even got to my mom's house. But there's issues that come out of there where they feel certain people from dispatchers or whatever the logistics are, based on these contracts and how we taught, where the firefighters didn't even get the tone to say, hey, get down to this house right here. And that's dangerous. It's very dangerous. So those are things we need to consider as we talk. And these gentlemen know because we worked it out. Thank you.
You have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley,
Aye.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Craig Peterson,
Abstain.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
5 in favor,
I abstained.
He abstained.
4 in favor, 1 abstention. Sorry. We'll move on to the next item, and it's adoption of resolution to support the Great Shakeout that works towards becoming a safer community. So it's Amanda or Bill? I'm not sure.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Again, good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Amanda Vera, Chair. I'm the Emergency Services Coordinator for the Kings County Office of Emergency Services, which is a division of the Kings County Fire Department. I stand before your board today with an item that was requested by Supervisor Neves and the board last week. This item is requesting support in the signing of a resolution for the Great California Shakeout drill. Kings County, like most of California, is at risk to the impacts of earthquakes. Earthquakes are a profiled hazard in the Kings County Operational Area Local Hazard and Mitigation Plan. While no major fault systems are known to exist in Kings County, the potential for surface rupture exists as a minor threat, and the impacts of ground shaking could cause damage in Kings County. The San Andreas Fault is located less than 4 miles west of the Kings County line. Another large known fault, the White Wolf Fault, is located south near Arvin and Bakersfield. Recently, much of our community reported feeling the 7.1 Ridgecrest earthquake on July 4th, 2019, and we most recently had community members reporting feeling the 5.8 earthquake in Lone Pine, California. These events serve as a reminder that the threat of earthquakes remain a hazard in Kings County, and we must take steps to minimize threats to the safety of people who live, work, and play in Kings County. So the Great California Shakeout is a drill to practice how to be safer during big earthquakes by using the steps drop, cover, and hold on, which involve the actions of drop to the ground, take cover by getting under a sturdy desk or table, and hold on to the steady surface until the shaking stops. This action offers the best overall level of protection in most situations and is backed by earthquake experts such as those at the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the United States Geological Service, and many scientific academic centers. During the drill, participants are also encouraged to look around before an earthquake and identify safe places for protection when the shaking starts. Ground shaking during an earthquake is seldom the cause of injury. Collapsing walls or roofs, flying glass, and falling objects cause most of the earthquake-related injuries and deaths that occur during an earthquake. So it becomes extremely important for a person to move as little as possible to reach the place of safety, because most injuries occur as people try to move a short distance during shaking. Safe places may include under a sturdy piece of furniture, against an interior wall in your home, office, or school. Standing inside a doorway is no longer considered a safe place, as modern homes or doorways don't protect people from falling or flying objects. The website for shakeout.org includes manuals for various types of educational institutions, businesses, and households to participate. Steps also encourage including securing spaces by identifying hazards and movable items that may pose a risk around you, planning to be safe by developing a disaster plan and family communications plan, and building a disaster readiness kit. sources for preparing can be found on the shakeout.org website that I already mentioned, as well as ready.gov, and the local Kings County OES website has links to those websites as well. There are also checklists that exist, activities, and manuals. And some of the items that we encourage to include in your disaster kit is a 5-day supply of water, shelf-stable foods, a can opener, flashlight, radios, a first aid kit, and many other items that could just be handy for various types of hazards, including earthquakes. We want the public to know that as a government agency, we work to prepare and ready in our own local planning efforts, exercises, and responses, and we do that in partnership with many different partners in the county. It's also important for the public to be aware that earthquakes may disrupt services like electricity, water, and sewers, cause fires, and limit access in and out of areas. First response agencies will have to deal with the most serious life safety situations and may be unable to respond quickly to all issues in the community. So we want to encourage the public to collaborate with us in taking steps to prepare now, stay safe on their own if possible, and help the recovery of our community following an earthquake or other type of emergency. This year, the shakeout drill will take place on October 15th, which is this Thursday. According to the website, more than 18.1 million participants have registered worldwide, including 5.5 million in California and 5,346 people in Kings County. The Office of Emergency Services and Fire Administration building will be having our own drop, cover, and hold on drill on this day, followed by an Emergency Operations Center readiness drill, as my division is responsible for the maintenance and function of the EOC. At this time, we would like to request that your board, A, encourage county agencies, businesses, and members of the public to register to participate in the Great Shakeout Drill and prepare for emergencies in the County of Kings, and B, adopt a resolution supporting the Great California Shakeout that works towards becoming a safer community. The copy of the resolution is included in your agenda item packet, and this concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board has at this time.
Thank you, Amanda. Any question or comments?
Nope, very good, Mr. Chair. Very good advice. Thank you, Amanda, and move for adoption.
Moved by
Thank you.
Supervisor
Thank
Neves, second by Supervisor Peterson. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Craig Peterson.
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
5 in favor. We've agreed to roll out the Great Shakeout. Earthquake comes, get out of the way. Stand in the doorway. All right. Next item, we're going to go to Public Works Department, and I think Dominic is on the line this morning. Dominic, you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. I can even see you.
Perfect. Thank you. So good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I am before you to request that the chairman sign the notice of completion so staff may finalize the project and start the clock towards release of retention for the congestion mitigation and air quality program seal at various Kings County roadways. On April 30th of 2019, your board authorized award of the project pavement coatings company with construction beginning in August of 2019. The project included cement treatment of roadway base on the following roadways: 10th Avenue from Reading to Seattle, Racine from 4th to 6th, 5th Avenue from Orange to Nevada, and the cement treatment was followed by a triple seal. As you may have noticed, there's been a significant time lapse from the award of the project to this point in time, and that is a result of Public Works refusing to issue a notice of completion to the contractor, as the finished grade of the roadway surface was substandard when initially completed. The contractor agreed to run a profilograph on the roadway segments to capture the new profile. We negotiated with the contractor on a remediation, which included grinding of the surface and placement of a cape seal. In addition, the maintenance period was extended from 1 year to 2 years. Excuse me. The construction was completed in September of 2020, even though it did begin almost a year prior. And again, the delay was due to the poor quality of the project, but I think we've gotten that rectified. And additionally, we've negotiated an additional year of maintenance. We did not encounter any change orders with this project, and therefore the total project amount remained at $2,182,206, with approximately 70% of that being federally reimbursed. So at this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dominic. Any questions or comments?
Move for adoption, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Supervisor Nev, second by Supervisor Fagundes. And the question I would have is, so what do you attribute the fact that they didn't do what they bid the job for? Do you have any kind of explanation for it?
Yeah, absolutely. So typically when we spec the jobs, we spec materials, but we do not spec means and methods. And so the method by which they performed, they prepared the cement treatment on all segments, and then they let it sit for a significant period of time. And so that surface became degraded. They did some initial surface treatments to try to correct the issue. But their position was, well, once we place the chip seals, you know, the imperfections will take care of themselves. And we warned them that that was not going to work. And as it turns out, it didn't. So that required additional work, additional materials, additional effort on the part of the contractor to get it corrected. You know, there are certain parameters that have to be met in terms of the specifications, and that's what we can hold them to. But again, means and methods are theirs, and so we have to give them the flexibility. And in this case, it didn't work out so well, but we were able to get the work corrected, and I think at the end we got a good product for the county.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Craig Peterson.
Aye.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Okay, 5 in favor. Thank you, Dominic. Appreciate your hard work.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go on now to item E, Election Department. Viva, are you there?
Mr. Chairman, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks so much. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this is the Elections Department. I'd like to give you guys a brief update on the upcoming November 3rd, 2020 general election. We are 21 days away from Election Day. In preparation for the upcoming election, we've done the following. We trained, we had 5 co-worker training sessions that were held last week, Wednesday, Thursday. There was 2 sessions, one at 9 a.m., one at 6 p.m. And we had a the 5th session on Friday at 9 a.m. We trained approximately 68 individuals. 38 of those were county employees from various departments, and thank you all for that assistance. We'll be having an average about 11 workers or poll workers at each of our sites. There's 6 polling places throughout Kings County. The Avenel High School cafeteria will serve as a polling place along with the Corcoran Rack Gymnasium, Kings County Multipurpose Room, the Garvin Center, Longfield Center in Southside Hanford, Sierra Pacific High School Gymnasium, and the Lemoore Masonic Temple on Bush Street. So 11 folks, minimum 11 folks will be at each one of those locations, assisting voters to vote early, which starts October 31st at 9 a.m. through 6 p.m. and it's going to run through November 2nd, which is a Monday. And then we'll be open at 7 a.m. through 8 p.m. on Tuesday, November 3rd, Election Day. We are having a deployment meeting with our road department on Monday, which is coming Monday, October 19th at 2 p.m. to talk about the deployment of equipment that's going to be sent to each one of our polling places. The plan currently calls for 10 ballot marking devices to be deployed and ADA compliant voting booths, 1 ballot on demand printer, 3 electronic poll books, and the necessary supplies and materials to each one of those polling places. The roads department has assisted us in the March primary. They did a great job deploying that equipment for us, and we'll be working with them as well this November 3rd. Ballots. Our ballots were mailed out October 5th. We had 57,293 ballots that were sent out to the voters of Kings County. We are going to be doing a second supplemental pool on today's date. And those ballots should be in the mail by Friday, the 16th. The second supplemental pool is indicative of voters registering after the first pool, which was done on September 11th. As of Monday, yesterday, Kings County had a total registered voters of 59,047 registered voters. That is a difference of 1,754 voters since our first pool, which was mid-September. We've started receiving ballots. We so far accepted 35 ballots. We have about 800 to 1,000 ballots that we collected from the drop box and at the counter that have not been scanned into the system. We are going to start the preparation process of those ballots tomorrow, and that is due to lack of staffing, and we should be up and running by tomorrow, Wednesday, the 14th. In comparison to the 2016 general election, during the 2016 general election, you had a total registered voters at the end of that election of 52,137. As of today, as mentioned earlier, you have 59,047 registered voters. That's a difference of 6,910, and that's not including voters that may register up to election day. So the end of registration is going to be Monday, October 19th. What that means is that voters must register by October 19th to be in the poll or in the rolls for election. If they do not register by October 19th, Monday, their vote is going to be processed as a conditional vote. But they still may show up at a polling place, and they still may vote at any polling place in Kings County, even if they're not registered. They have to register up to the day of election. So far, we've collected, as mentioned to you, 800 to about 1,000 ballots from the counter and from the drop box out in our parking lot. On Saturday, myself and a staff member did the first round of collecting ballots throughout the county. We visited 7 drop boxes. We collected a total of 248 drop boxes, ballots. And the numbers are the following. We got 3 ballots from Marmona Senior Center, which is an official drop box location. We got 11 ballots from the Home Gardens Community District Office, which is another official ballot drop box location. 142 ballots collected from Hamper High East Campus on Grangeville. 2 ballots collected from the Avenue Library. 34 from the Corcoran Amtrak Transit Station. 51 from the Lemoore Park and Rec on Cinnamon Drive, and 5 from Central School on 18th Avenue. That is a total of 248. I anticipate those numbers to increase as we get closer to the election day. And we'll be doing those rounds on every other day starting today. Again, those are the official ballot drop boxes for Kings County. Amona, Commission on Aging, Avenel, at the library, Corcoran, at the Transit Amtrak Station, Hanford, we have one at Home Gardens, after high school, and in our parking lot at the Government Center, and there's 2 ballot drop boxes in the Moore, at the Parks and Rec, and the Central Union Elementary School. I want to stress to the board and the members of the community listening to this call that those are official ballot drop boxes, and they should be used for the ballots to be dropped securely. Again, it's mentioned to you, the last day of registration is October 19th. However, you still may register to vote up to election day. And my last message, please vote early, vote by mail. We drop it at any of our ballot drop box locations. That's going to assist us tremendously in curbing the COVID-19 spread. So with that said, I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Lupe. So October 19th is the last day to register to vote, but it's not, because you can still register to vote the day of the election, correct?
That is affirmative. That is correct, sir. However, your vote will be a conditional vote, which means that ballot is going to be transported back to our office, and the ballot will be transported back on a nightly basis from each of the 6 polling places. So the poll workers and inspectors have been trained and have been advised that they will have to bring in ballots. Any live ballots will be brought into the elections office on a nightly basis. Any ballots that are deemed or identified as conditional will be processed after or during our canvas period, which starts November 5th and is going to run through December 4th.
But it's a vote that still counts.
The vote still counts, provided that the voter is eligible to vote, yes.
Okay, thank you.
The conditional
And then
process, Mr. Chairman, the conditional process allows the elections officials to ensure that the person submitting the casted vote is eligible to vote.
Okay, got it. And then, so you're available right now if anybody has any questions at your office today, correct?
So I am available. I encourage your constituents or any member of the community that has any questions regarding the election process or has questions regarding their ballots to contact our office at 559-852-4401. They can visit our website at votekingscounty.com. I encourage them to stop by. We are setting appointments. We're setting up appointments for folks that want to surrender their vote by mail ballot and they want to vote in person. We are doing that operation. We started that a week ago, and we are taking appointments. So they are welcome to call. They want to call and set up an appointment to drop off their ballots. We'll be more than happy to take those as well. So we are pretty busy in the elections office, and we're willing to assist any member of our community that has questions regarding elections. And I encourage you to share that message.
Well, okay, so I'm gonna carry the message right now from what I'm hearing. I have constituents in the community that are paying their property taxes. At the same time, they want to come in and they want to pay their, make sure that they fill their ballot out correctly and you're not available. So I don't know that asking our members to call to make sure you're available is correct. I think you should be available during business hours. So if anybody wants to stop by when they pay their property tax, they have someone to talk to. Is that possible?
We are available, sir. Yes, we are. We're available from 8:30 to 4:30 daily, and we're taking appointments only due to the COVID-19 restrictions we have in place. We cannot open the lobby doors. However, there's a phone number posted at the door in which they can call us. If there's no appointments for that hour, we'll go out to the door and walk them into the lobby. We're only allowed to have 3 members of the community in the lobby at one single time, and again, that is due to COVID.
Can you have a table outside?
We can have a table outside. There's a degree of secrecy that involves voting. I have concerns with having a table out there in that we have to be able to move the equipment in and out on a daily basis. We're available by phone and they can call for simple questions. However, if they want to cast a vote or fill out the registration form, we will need an appointment for them.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. I have a couple, but I'll start off with just last week when the meeting was over and I was leaving, I saw 2 elderly people standing outside Department of Elections. So I walked over to them and I asked them if they'd been helped because like you said, there is a situation where it looks like it's closed. I didn't know these people ended up, they told me they drove all the way down from Avenel. They were getting ready to leave. So I called Loopy. Loopy came out himself in 30 seconds and helped them. I walked away once Loopy came out. So in his defense to him and the staff, they are inside. I think I like your idea, though, on exploring the option of a table outside, not for voting, but to just say, hey, here's a rep. We're here. We're here to help on that. Because like I said, these folks were elderly, and I don't know, they couldn't read the font or whatever, but they had their nose on the door, and you can tell they wanted to be helped, and that was obvious. That's why I walked over. So, but I like that, Mr. Chair. Loopy, the story in the Fresno being on the news last night, and 3 of the counties where these illegal drop boxes are out. You're not hearing anything like that in Kings County? Hopefully not.
Mr. Valle, yes, I have. And I've reached out to our Secretary of State in regards to some of the comments I received. And I'm in discussions with, I'm going to be meeting with one of the organizations tomorrow evening to share with them the law that relates to ballot drop boxes and what's official and what's not official. We had a brief conversation. I think we're in good standing. We understand each other. We understand the common goal is to get the voters to come out and vote. However, there is a process and there's legalities behind collecting ballots, and those legalities will be shared with that group. Additionally, the Secretary of State has issued a CCRB, which is a memorandum to all elections officials, including Kings County, And that message was also shared with the political entities that have the desire to deploy this official ballot drop boxes, so they call official ballot drop boxes, but they're not official. So the most important message that we can share with our voters in Kings County is that you have to make sure that you surrender your ballot to a trusted source if you're willing to allow them to drop that ballot off for you. There is certain criteria that need to be met should someone collect a ballot from another. So again, we are not cited in the Circle B or in the news. I did read regarding Fresno and the other two counties. That is a concern that was raised early on as we were preparing for the election. I would like to say that we in Kings County have a group of individuals that have good intention behind collecting ballots. Again, there's legalities that need to be followed and that must be adhered to in order to have a fair and transparent election.
Thank you. And I know you said you reached out to Secretary of State, but you're getting local help too?
At this point in time, I think we're standing in solid ground. I believe the communications would be too premature to reach out to our district attorney's office for assistance in regards to reviewing a complaint.
I was referring just to county council at that area if you're getting close help. You don't have to go into detail. I just want to make sure.
Yes, our county council's office, it has been on standby for the last few months. I work really closely with county council and with Ms. Diane Freeman, who is of assistance, and we discussed this issue yesterday early morning. So they're on track with this.
Okay, and so I appreciate that. I just want to know that. But Mr. Chairman, I think that instead of us shying away from some of the ugliness that's taken place across the country and the political talk on the integrity of elections in the United States of America, I think that the potential for Loopy and his staff to get bogged down on answering questions, and I don't want to sound bad, but just some ridiculous stuff that's out there, where they will pick up the phone on that, but it's going to take a lot of man hours. And I think that we as leaders need to do whatever we can to make sure that Loopy and his staff can focus their time and attention on the actual execution of a proper election in Kings County built on integrity. And I have no illusions that that is not going to be the case come election day, leading up to election day, and the days after. I believe in the integrity of that process here in Kings County, but I think we could help them in a long way if we as the leaders of the county, we use our voice and we step up. We should be the ones saying from our platform on social media or here publicly, we should say that we have 100% trust in the integrity of the election process in the County of Kings, and that these myths that are being put out there is not happening in the county. That would help Loopy, that would help his staff, and that would help protect the integrity. And I think whatever we can do in that regard, we should do, whether that's in a resolution next week or some form that's out there. But I believe that unless you have an issue, I mean, Mr. Villa is coming on here weekly, and I know we appreciate it. We don't bring him on here to interrogate him. I think the idea was for him to come on so he could give information so we could quash a lot of those rumors and those myths out there that are being projected on the people. Because what's wrong with voting by mail? Even in 2008, first time I ran, I learned 75% of the voters in Kings County vote by mail. But all of a sudden today, it's a problem. We need to get ahead of that, Mr. Chairman, as leaders. And I would ask that you respond to that right there to see what you want to do with that as the chairman of the county.
Just a couple comments. Yeah, I think we have to be careful about standing up and banging on the desk that we know everything that's occurring. We don't. I mean, we can surmise that, people are going to do the right thing, but unfortunately people don't. And so I think, we as elected leaders were elected by, the people that we represent. And, they trust our judgment to make sure that we're on top of things. But to go out and make a statement that may be false is troubling as well. I mean, we just don't know. We don't know everything. We can't know everything, but we can say that, our the folks that vote for us, put us here for a reason. And that goes into who we hire as professionals in the department heads. But again, there's a lot of creativity out there and it changes every election and to go out and make a statement, but we know everything that's occurring. I think, other than saying that we have a professional staff, we've prepared for this election
That's where I'm going. So if I came off a little over the top, I apologize, but I just feel that this is an extremely important topic. So I don't want to say that we're putting a seal of approval all the way to starting today to November 3rd, because you're absolutely right, stuff happens. But what I'm saying is, as far as we could go, right, does anyone here have a problem with the drop boxes? Does anyone here have a problem with drop box locations? Does anyone here have a problem with the integrity of the drop boxes? So if we feel that we don't, I think those things are the kinds of things that we should be saying. Because yes, on election day, stuff does happen. I worked for an assembly member. I did 3 elections with her before I ever got to mine. And in 2004, when I was running her campaign office in the city of Corcoran on election day, about noon, I had several people come to our downtown campaign office, tell me about an incident that was taking place at a voting precinct in Corcoran. I drove down there to go through the process to see what was taking place. And when I pulled up, Mr. Chairman, as a Hispanic, there was a security guard outside of this polling location. And when I pulled up, he went with the video camera and videotaped my license plate, came to my driver's side door and put the camera in my face as I walked in the polling place. He didn't know who I was working for. He didn't know I had access to a lawyer on the spot. He didn't know that I went in and talked to the manager of that polling place, and we shut that stuff down quick. And that person was dealt with by his security company in Bakersfield, where he came from, and the candidate running against my boss, who hired him to come do that. So stuff takes place, and that's documented. So I'm not speaking out of line here and making false claims. That actually got investigated and was put out. What's that?
That won't happen this year because vote.
No, but to the point of Sue Peterson, stuff happens beyond our control. I'm talking about us putting some kind of support on the integrity of how we're rolling it out.
Well, we
'Cause I
roll it
believe
out
that
for
helps.
myself. I mean, the question was asked to me, so I mean, we put a lot of faith in Lupe Vila to do a good job with his election people and run a smooth campaign. And that's where I put my faith. I'm not gonna make a resolution to counter react something that someone's on social media or the news. I watched the news this morning. They talked about some ballot boxes that were made up and put out in the public. I would have hoped that any one of us will see one of those. We report it to our elections office. And I think Lupe's doing a good job. This will make sure that people are taken care of next 21 days. He worked for the people, not us. And it's up to him to do a good job and collect all the votes in a safe manner. And whether you vote by mail or you want to drop it off in person, you have the right to do so. I think more opportunity for people to vote today than it was 2 years ago or 4 years ago. There should be no excuse for anybody not to vote. And I put faith in my community to do the right thing.
That's good enough for me right there.
Okay.
Good enough
Thank
for
you.
me.
Lupe, thank you very much. Just make sure you're available for the people that don't read and don't listen to our meetings that, do the same thing every year and they just show up. So you might have to change your attentiveness when it comes to the door when someone's, they don't knock, they just look at the door. So you might have a few of those in the next couple of weeks. So just be aware. So thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for your support, Mr. Wright, as well. I appreciate the kind words and the faith put on me. I can assure you that the elections department is going to be as transparent as possible. We will have a legal and transparent election in this county, without a doubt. In regards to customer service, it is paramount to the office to ensure that every voter that comes to that door is helped in a timely fashion. However, due to COVID and lack of staffing, we sometimes cannot get to those folks faster than we would like to. We did post our number so they can call us. If there's no appointment that we have during that hour, we'll go and grab them, put them in the lobby and the system in that way. So if any of your community members, constituents has any questions, comments, concerns, please share my number with them. And if they have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding the deployment of the November 3rd election, please share my number with them, and I'll be more than happy to meet and discuss their concerns. Again, thank you so much for your support, and I'll be bringing up a new update on October 20th. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Next item. We're going to go to administrative. I believe it's Ed Hill, or you want to start it off, Rebecca?
I'll start it off. I have a couple of quick updates.
Okay, yeah, we're going to take a 2-minute recess,
Okay.
maybe 3. Okay, we're back. It is 11:34, and we'll start off with administration. 10:34, and we'll start off with administration. Rebecca Campbell. with
Yes,
COVID
thank you,
update.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Good morning. Rebecca Campbell, County Administrative Officer. This is a weekly update provided to your board regarding the COVID-19 health emergency. The last date that was given to your board was on October 6th. I'll first start talking about state actions over the past week. I would like to bring on our Human Services Agency Director, Sonia Bugay, who will give an update on Kings County Project Home Key. And then I'll bring on Director of Public Health, Edward Hill, and he'll give a local health update. So just talking about state actions, Governor Newsom did announce this past week the release of $147 million for the fourth round of Project Home Key projects. These are projects to purchase and rehabilitate housing, including hotels, motels, vacant apartment buildings, and other properties, and convert them into permanent long-term housing for people experiencing or at risk of homelessness. The most recent fourth round applied to 12 applications for 20 projects, totaling 1,109 units. The closest to us was the County of Fresno. Was awarded $15.3 million to acquire 204 units for its innovative Crossroads Village project, which provided permanent housing solutions for more than 200 individuals who had been staying in an emergency shelter bed program. Yesterday, the governor came on and talked about the positivity rate was at 2.6%, but he did continue to warn people of the virus, especially as the holiday and flu season nears. He also talked about how some counties will be moving to less restrictive tiers on today, and but some counties are also teetering between tiers. So at this point, I'd like to bring on Director Sonia Bouquet, give a quick update on the county, and then bring on the health director.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sonia, you there today?
Good morning. This is Sonia. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. You sound good.
All right. So wanted to share with you that on Friday afternoon, we received a notice from the state that one of our home key applications was moved from being waitlisted to a reservation stage. If your board recalls, in early August, we asked just by a consensus to get permission to apply for home key projects. We applied for two projects. One was to purchase Stardust Motel that we're currently utilizing as Project Home Key shelter. To purchase it and eventually convert it to permanent housing, it would essentially be an apartment complex. We also applied, and that was an application in partnership with RH Community Builders and Upholdings. We also applied in partnership with King's Gospel Mission for Kings County Triangle Courtyard to actually to create a new housing, 24 new housing units. We have not heard anything on Kings County Triangle Courtyard. That's still, we met the minimum application points, but no, but we're still waitlisted for that project. For Stardust, we were noticed that we are in a reservation stage, which basically means we've been awarded if we can meet all the requirements of the state application process and the timelines. We're working with County Council now to review those requirements and anything additional that's been added. We will be back to your board for an actual approval of the project. That requires signing a standard agreement. So we want to take time to review the standard agreement with County Council and bring that. We anticipate coming back to your board by the end of October. But if all of these conditions are okay, given the shortened timeline, we're hoping that we actually can proceed with the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia.
There is a federal update. On the county side, the County Emergency Operations Center continues to meet weekly. County operations are continuing as they have been, but the library will start opening their contactless book drops today. They're opening those, and they'll be soon expanding their services to begin curbside pickup processes. I also wanted to bring attention to your board that the county received two banners basically of world champion boxer Jose Ramirez. And I would ask your board that you accept those donation of banners from the IMAS campaign and also decide where you would like to place those within the county.
We'll do that now. So we got 15,000 masks, correct? And we have them in, right now in Ag Department.
That is correct.
I know there's no mask available for any farmers out there today. You can come get your mask from the Ag Department if you want to keep from COVID or smoke. You can't use it for dust. So I think it's a good place to keep them until there's more masks available in our. Is that what we'll talk about now?
Yeah,
Talking about the banners?
yeah,
or-
the banners.
Oh, the
There's
banners.
two banners. They're very large size banners. And I would ask that your board decide where you would like to put them up at the
Supervisor Valley
county.
has a spot
They're
for
10
one.
foot by 20 foot banners.
Yeah, Supervisor Valley has a spot for one.
Yeah, no, Mr. Chair, when we, I think me, you, Rebecca, a couple of us were in a loop, an email loop from probably about a month ago saying that there was these two large vinyl banners. I didn't see them as a donation. I saw them as.
No, I thought we were talking about the mask. I said mask and then no one corrected me. So
I think CAO said these banners were donated.
yeah, banners. No, I was confused. I thought you said mask.
Okay, we'll start over. There's two large vinyl banners
Yes.
and they have,
This mask is keeping us from having a good meeting because they can't see what the hell you guys are saying. So
The banners have world
More than 6 feet
champion,
away, so you can take it off.
the banners have world champion boxer wearing
I've
his
seen the
mask.
banners. They got delivered yesterday.
Mhm.
Yeah, they go ahead. I know you have a spot for one, Supervisor Valley.
so the two of them, the two banners, they have the image of Jose Ramirez that we've all seen with the county mask on, and I believe it says "I mask for my teammates." So I did put out that we were looking for two locations. I asked the city manager, Ken Meek, if he would approach the council to see it's okay if we can put one of these on the large water tank at Highway 43. That would be very visible there. It's Highway 43 and Pickerel Avenue. So tonight, it's actually on agenda for the Corcoran City Council to take that up. We sent them all the information they needed. They wanted to know if it's an adhesive vinyl that would compromise the tank, meaning they already have something painted on the tank. We wouldn't want to do that. So just for anyone that's listening and may have also an idea, or for the board, these are things that could be strapped on there. And so I guess my question would be, if the city council approves it tonight, then who would actually be the one to go down there and put that on? I think we probably need direction on that. If that's county people going down there to work with city people to do it, we should probably make that clear too. But I'll shoot an email to you, Mr. Chair, and the CAO tonight. I'll probably zoom in on that and listen in. And
Is it on the which side of the road is on? If you're going,
you'll mainly see it. You'll see it from a number of directions. If you're northbound on Highway 43, you're going to see it huge. If you're heading like northeast on Pickerel, you're actually at a stop sign. You'll see it huge, but it's so big it would just catch your eye. The other place, I haven't approached anybody, but because I think it would take away from the views, and so I'm hopeful that if somebody else here has a good idea for where this other large one will be at, but I'm sure the other one would be no problem at the water tank off I-5 when you start to go up the hills to in the Avenue. They used to have a huge one up there when Jose had the Fight for Water banner that was strapped on that water tank. But again, Highway 198 would be a beautiful location if anyone has, any friends with property or something to be able to reach out to see if it could be there. That would be the most ideal. Then we'd have 43 and 198.
Another suggestion that I received was to put it up with our mobile testing unit and put it up wherever they're going
oh yeah,
to find
Yeah.
on the side of the RV.
whichever way that we can make it happen.
Oh, we can put it anywhere. We got one in Kern County and Tulare County now, right?
Yeah. I'm in Farmersville.
Maybe we'll switch them out.
That anywhere is better than just sitting on the floor.
Yep.
And it don't have to go into Corcoran either. If you guys have
If you got
two,
one, I think that's a good spot for it. So, I think the next one we could probably do, if we can't find a place for it permanent, we'll put it with a mobile testing is good. That way it moves around every day and it reminds people to wear a mask when they're getting their COVID test. And then, I'm thinking of a couple of spots now, but I gotta ask permission on properties.
okay.
So would your board just allow us to handle it and
Yes.
find a place? Okay.
I agree. Everybody agree?
You need a motion?
Yeah, you need a motion.
I make motion.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes. 5 in favor. Yeah, banner's yours.
Okay, well, we will put them up and get them out. So now I would like to introduce Director of Public Health, Edward Hill, and he'll give your board a health update.
Good morning again, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Ed Hill, Public Health. I'd like to start off this presentation, as I always do, with the things and basic practices that we need to do to help protect ourselves from the spread of communicable diseases, which is wash your hands frequently for 20 seconds or more. Don't touch your face with unwashed hands. Stay home if you're sick. Stay hydrated and cover your face with our face coverings to help protect yourselves and your loved ones. As stated in the past, we're getting close to publishing our digital dashboard, and we're working through the final details in the webpage. We will hopefully be able to post this dashboard later today or early tomorrow morning. As a reminder, the data will seem different as we switch to using the same processes the state uses to assign cases, dates, and times, but the overall numbers won't change. Our current numbers for the county, numbers tested are 59,958, results pending 264. We're currently monitoring 1,600 individuals. The current total cases community-wide since the outbreak began is 4,464, unfortunately with 74 deaths. That's 50 community and 24 associated with skilled nursing facilities. Total recovered are 3,848 with 542 active cases. Our skilled nursing facility numbers have not changed, which is a good thing. Their total cases since the outbreak began was 173 total cases. They only have 2 active cases right now with 172 recovered. And unfortunately, again, 24 deaths. We continue to work weekly with the California Department of Public Health Infection Prevention Group, as well as licensing certification with those facilities. The state prison outbreaks, since the outbreak began, their current numbers are 3,855. That's 429 in Corcoran, 3,058 in Avenal State Prison, and 368 at SATF. They've tested 34,963 times with results pending of 179. Their total active cases are 1,058. Their total recovered cases, 2,566. And unfortunately, with 8 deaths, they currently have 4 individuals hospitalized. 3 of them are here, and 1 is in Bakersfield. My concerns on the prison still have not changed, and we continue to watch them closely to make sure that we identify any possible surge in patients to our healthcare system, both locally and regionally. On that note, we continue to watch hospital data very closely. The hospital data has seemed to stabilize at this time. That includes med surge as well as ICU patients. The report from the hospital yesterday was they had 19 COVID patients with 1 in the ICU. 7 of those were Kings County residents. The rest were from other counties. The Porterville Development Center has been remains closed and in a warm state, meaning that it could be stood back up in 72 hours. We hope that's true, given all the wildfires. We're not that confident that the resources will be there, but we're remaining positive. We are currently maintaining a 60-day supply of PPE for all of our healthcare providers and facilities. The mobile testing program scheduled this week. It was at the county complex yesterday. Tuesday, today, it's at Stratford Branch Library. Wednesday, it's at the Corcoran Rack. Thursday, it's at the Kettleman Branch Library. Friday, they are off. Saturday, they are at Roosevelt Elementary School. And Sunday, they're at Avenal High School. We received notice late last night that we are going to receive approximately 7,000 BinaxNOW antigen test kits. These kits, as stated, are antigen test kits, which means they can only be used on symptomatic individuals within 1 week of symptom onset, so that they are not ideal for surveillance testing, but are better suited and used for areas where there's a high chance of encountering individuals with symptoms such as hospitals, clinics, skilled nursing facilities, correctional facilities, things of that nature. The state has indicated the following priorities for distribution of these kits: hospital emergency departments, federally qualified healthcare centers, community health centers, tribal clinics, migrant health centers, and rural clinics. Distribution for COVID-19 symptomatic individuals during an outbreak. Distribution for COVID-19 symptomatic individuals in congregate settings such as correctional facilities, homelessness shelters, and skilled nursing facilities. And for frontline healthcare workers and first responders with inadequate time, less than 48 hours between weekly shifts, to await PCR testing results. My staff will be meeting today to talk about distribution of these tests. We are going to adhere to the state recommendations, as well as make sure that we carve out some for our local correctional facilities, homeless shelters, and skilled nursing facilities, and our clinics in the rural areas. In conjunction with the testing sites, we've been able to administer 780 flu shots over the last week. We've given so many flu vaccines that we actually ran out of our free flu shot allocation that we've had so far. Because of this, we have borrowed some flu shots from Tulare County, and we will be receiving the remaining 520 of our allocation hopefully by Friday. We will already order more of these, but we're waiting an answer from CDPH on whether we'll get more free flu shots or vaccines, because all the counties are in the same boat. Thankfully, individuals are listening, and this is the first time in the 3 years that I've been here that we are actually not sending any flu vaccines back. Yearly, we're usually allocated about 1,200, and we usually send anywhere back from 600 to 800 each year. So I'm glad to see that people are taking this serious and protecting themselves and their loved ones, because we don't want to have to deal with the double threat of flu and COVID. Our program that is designed to support the essential workforce and their isolation quarantine needs is currently serving 19 households. We continue to promote this program at all testing sites throughout the county, especially at our testing sites. We're considering modifying this program and expanding its scope based on the state's new equity metric requirements, but discussions with the vendor will happen pretty soon. We've been holding regularly scheduled follow-up calls with the State Unified Support Team and working through any issues as well as any new items that arise. It has proven to be a good relationship, and they have been able to provide us with resources that we need on a regular basis. We are gearing up for a possible release of the COVID-19 vaccine, and the CDPH is holding regular calls with local health jurisdictions to plan this distribution. I'll continue to update your board as we learn more. The Central California Emergency Medical Services Agency announced yesterday that the State of California Emergency Medical Services Authority released an application process for paramedics to allow them to expand their scope of practice to provide flu vaccines and possibly even COVID vaccines. So we will actually start discussions with CCMSA as well as the state on this process to utilize this resource moving forward to assist us with the distribution of vaccines when they are released. We have released Halloween guidance on our website. It's at the top of our guidance page on our COVID-19 guidance page from our homepage. The state also released gathering guidance on October 9th. The guidance focuses on limiting the number of households to 3 or less and recommends that most gatherings happen outdoor if they can. They don't put a specific number on how many people can gather, but they do suggest the limiting of 3 households or less. Again, that guidance document is also available on our COVID-19 guidance page. Our current numbers for the state metrics this week, our new cases per 100,000 is 6.3, which is below the 7 threshold that the state requires. Our overall county-wide testing positivity is at 2.7, and our testing positivity in the lowest quartile of the HPI, or the Healthy Places Index, is at 2.3%. This means that our new cases per 100,000 meet the red tier criteria, or tier 2, and our testing positivity for both overall and the lowest quartile of our Healthy Places Index meet the orange criteria, or tier 3. Yesterday afternoon, we were notified that we are eligible to move to the red tier, or tier 2 today. We will be issuing a public health bulletin announcing this today. The governor will likely be announcing it at his 12 o'clock briefing, or Secretary Galley will. Since we will be moving into the red tier, the following sectors may modify their opening status or their reopening status in accordance with the red tier assignment. Gyms and fitness centers may open indoors to 10% of their capacity. Hotels and lodging can open with modifications to include their fitness centers. Movie theaters may open indoors to 25% of their capacity or 100 people, whichever is fewer. Museums, zoos, and aquariums may open indoors to 25% of their capacity. Personal care services may open indoors. Places of worship may open indoors with 25% of their capacity or 100 people, whichever is fewer. Restaurants may open indoors to 25% of their capacity or 100 people, whichever is fewer. Retail may reopen indoors to 50% of their capacity, and shopping centers may open indoors to 50% of their capacity, but their common areas must remain closed, and their food courts can now operate at 25% of their capacity or 100% of people, or excuse me, not 100%, 25% of their capacity or 100 people, whichever is fewer. So this is good news. It goes to show that the work that everybody's been doing on the testing and getting our testing numbers up is helping us with our process and our move through economic opening. But I do need to be clear that even though our numbers are good right now, we need to maintain this for this point on, to be quite frank. In addition, our schools won't be able to open until we hold this tier for 2 consecutive weeks. And I just want to remind everyone that this is COVID and everything continues to change hourly. So there's no guarantee that things won't go back to the way they were. There are already counties, as mentioned by Ms. Campbell, as well as the governor and Secretary Galley and the California Department of Public Health, that have had to roll back to the purple tier, the more restrictive tier, or are on the cusp of having to make that move very soon. Given this, we want to urge people not to get into a rush and get out as fast as they can. We want to urge people to continue to test frequently, and we want to urge people to remain diligent in implementing the measures to keep us all safe and to keep our economy open. This concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ed. Appreciate that. On the testing, have we seen, is it pretty steady on the testing in all the different sites? I know we went to Huron on Saturday with a labor contractor. Do you know if we had a large group of people that showed up there, or was it pretty, do you have the numbers on that one?
Supervisor Chairman Verboen, through the chair, I don't have the numbers for those right now.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Peterson?
Yeah, Ed, thank you. Good news, I guess, again. Not I guess, good to hear. You know, you had talked about the calculations and so I want you to be able to stand on the soapbox and say you did the calculations so well that you got it just as the state did. But has anything changed there with your methodology, or are you still in the same sector?
Thank you, Supervisor Peterson, through the chair. No, our calculations are still holding true. Our MP team is doing excellent work. They're also the ones that are working on that digital dashboard that will be up today that we're very excited about. But we are seeing a good trend. As mentioned in the past, as we increase testing, some of our positivity numbers will go up. Or excuse me, not our positivity numbers, our new cases per 100,000 will go up. We saw an increase about 0.2% over the last week. Again, that was anticipated. But the important thing to remember is if both our positivity overall for the county and our positivity for the lowest quartile in the Healthy Places Index is 2 tier colors under our current tier, it makes us eligible for what's known as accelerated reopening. And what that means is they don't pay attention to the new cases per 100,000. So I just want to let everybody know that even though our new cases per 100,000 are getting back close to the 7 mark, actually they exceed 7, but because of our testing and our abilities to test more than the state median, they're adjusting it down. But even at that rate, given that our testing positivity in those 2 categories are still extremely low, our numbers are looking good. And again, to address your question, the EPI team is able to calculate that and project that moving forward. In fact, our positivity numbers are so good right now that they're getting closer to the yellow tier. I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but I am happy seeing what we're seeing in the numbers, as well as our testing capabilities and the buy-in from the constituents of the county to continue the testing, as well as take up measures to protect themselves, such as flu shots, face coverings, and all the other non-pharmaceutical interventions.
Well, thank you for the update. And again, thank you for all your efforts and the department's efforts. They're paying off. And I think the level of professionalism, the way we're addressing testing out in the community is vital. And again, thanks to you and your staff for, this has been quite a fight and will continue, but you guys have done a fantastic job. So thank you.
And Ed, one question for me is, when we go from purple to red and we can hold it for 2 weeks, at what point can we have schools open up? Do you know?
Mr. Chairman, through the board, 2 weeks after maintaining the red tier, the schools can begin their opening processes.
Very good. That's what I thought you said. Okay,
and
thanks.
then once they're open, I apologize. Once they're open, the state has made it clear that the intent is not to close them, even if we have to roll to a more restrictive tier.
Very good. Thank you. Supervisor Valley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Hill, I know things change quick. We spoke yesterday, or I heard you speak on the 9 a.m. call. So I don't know if I'm confused or if something just changed. So we are cleared for the red, or we are cleared for the red only and if we meet these new metrics as it relates to the census tracts in Kings County.
Thank you, Supervisor Valley, through the chair. Yes, yesterday on the EOC call, I had stated that there was some uncertainty because of language that the state provided attached to the lowest quartile of the Healthy Places Index. And if during that call, I had indicated that the Public Health Department, was working with the California Department of Public Health to get clarification on that. Yesterday afternoon, we received notice that we are able to move to the red tier now, as of today, regardless of that plan submission, which, if you recall on that call, was another caveat or criteria. But they made it clear that we can move to the red tier today. We still have to meet all the Healthy Places Indexed and lowest quartile census tract requirements, which we will do, but we are eligible to move to the tier today.
Okay, so then thank you. That's good news. So then is the message then to people possibly in those areas that to keep testing to help us graduate quickly to the next 1 or 2 levels up?
Supervisor Valley, through the chair, that's 100% correct. We want to urge everybody across the county to continue testing, and per that partnership and requirement of the state, we will be dedicating a great deal of additional effort and resources to those census tracts identified by the state, and we will be increasing our education, our testing, our case investigation, contact tracing, and isolation quarantine support in those areas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I am being asked to help on some of these testing events coming up. Ed and I had a good meeting yesterday with the office manager of the Catholic Church in Corcoran, Our Lady of Lourdes. A lot of good information came out of that phone call. That being said, I'd like to ask if you would grant me a couple minutes privately before I leave here today. You can bring in the CAO or whoever, but what I need to know is I'm in the dark on whatever the plan is here, and I won't go into it publicly because we'll try to stay positive, but I either need to be told if I'm allowed to know the plan at this point, or if not, still why not? And I'd ask to do that publicly. You can bring whoever you want in the room, but I'm trying to help here, Mr. Chair, and it's hard to do my job if I don't have whatever information I feel I need to do my job. So if you give me 2 minutes before we leave. Sure. That being said, Mr. Chair, for where we're at right now, I think that I don't want to promise too much, but I think we're going to have a good event Sunday, October 25th at Our Lady of Lourdes Church. And I think Ed would agree that from hearing from the other side of the coin and from this office manager who's around a lot of Hispanics in the Spanish Mass and the English Mass at Our Lady of Lourdes for that matter, the approach that she has to like what information to use to promote this, right? And telling us the concerns there and telling us, instead of putting this on the flyer, let's put it this way, or let's say it this way, or here's why I don't believe we should go heavy on the pre-registration for this particular event. And here's where I feel there's issues on the immigration side and what they've seen, right? Because that still is there. I mean, just the other day on all the major newspapers from SAC-B to Fresno B to LA Times, the headline was about the week-long ICE raid in the state of California and where those raids were at and how that's causing concerns and anxiety amongst Hispanics. And so I could forward you that article as well for the record, but those are things that we still need to deal with, especially if we're going to grow in these areas, especially in the areas of my district, which again, I'm committed to turn out bigger numbers than we have been. And I think we're headed in a very good direction, especially for Sunday, October 25th. Ed was kind enough to take some input, and tomorrow the new Corcoran location will be at the Rack right there in, on Derry Avenue in Corcoran. So we're more visible. We have car counts going by. Where it was at the train station is in the furthest hideaway in the city of Corcoran where you could be at, where no one's going to see you. So that's a challenge. And I've tested there 3 times, including this past Sunday. And I more felt for the workers that were there too, Mr. Chair, because from where you sit to Super Verboon is a freight train just flying by them 25 times a day. And it came by when I was there. It's super loud and windy and made it cold for them. It's just, I look forward to this new location that they're going to have there on there, Mr. Chair. Hey, and then I'd like, lastly, the last question. Hey, Mr. Hill, the test kits, I'm not very good on the definitions and the different types of tests, at least as far as having them memorized. But the ones you brought up, those are new. And are those is that like the 20-minute rapid test that you were referring to, or is this just an extra supply of tests that came in that you were talking about during your report a few minutes ago?
Thank you, Supervisor Valley, through the chair. This is a new set of tests that were distributed by the federal government. You may have seen some news about it. They are rapid test kits. They do provide a result in a very short amount of time, in a matter of minutes, but they are antigen test kits. What that means is you have to be actively sick with the disease or the virus, and it has to be within 7 days of onset of the symptoms. So they're not great for surveillance testing. They are still not the gold standard, but they're called what's known as point of care testing. Again, so if you're in an area where there's the likelihood of individuals to be sick with COVID, skilled nursing facilities, hospitals, clinics where people are showing up with symptoms, they would be ideal for that. I have to get into the literature, but most commonly with antigen tests of this nature, a positive can be received or reviewed as a positive, but a negative would still need to be verified through a PCR molecular test. But for the healthcare provider that needs to know right now if the individual sitting in front of them is positive, they are relevant for that case. Again, that's why we're going to distribute it to areas excuse me, if I can step back a little bit, the federal government already released a large portion of these kits to skilled nursing facilities to include our facilities in Kings County, and then they give the counties an allocation as well. So again, we'll be distributing them to the areas where individuals will likely encounter people with symptoms at the time that they present to the respective area. In addition to that, one thing that I forgot to mention in my report, we're preparing a public health bulletin on the new status, the tier status, as well as the press release. We'll get the bulletin up very quickly and the press release out as fast as we can. And then just for measures, the overall testing, the average testing per day for the county for all testing sites is 338 compared to the state's median of 239. So in the grand schemes of things, when it comes to the county's testing efforts, we are doing very well. At one point, a couple months ago, you may recall that we were the third highest testing county in the state. I'm hoping to get there again because, again, that keeps our numbers much lower.
Thank you, Ms. Chill. So are those tests, is it similar or is it the same tests that I donated to the county back in March? The eight tests that I believe are in your lab, is it that same rapid test that I donated? The 8 boxes, the 8 test kits?
They are similar in the fact that they are not molecular tests. The ones you donated are antibody tests, which use blood. The antigen test does still use samples collected from the mucous membranes in the nasal cavity, but they are similar in the fact that you go through a process, you add some fluids to the instrument, and then it gives you results similar to a pregnancy test.
Got it. Thank you. Mr. Chair, to wrap up, these tests that I brought back in March, now that it's catching up, you know, when I got them, they were $60 a pop. And at that time, they were being used in China and in Europe and being sold in like Rite Aid type stores, and people were buying them. And so now you see that the United States, we're getting cleared to be able to do that here. But the last story I read, that same test I got for 60 in March is now, when we get to go buy it at Rite Aid, it's going to be $140.
You can make money on it.
Some people, well, a lot of people have, but nevertheless, they got my you get on math, what's 60 bucks times 8? They got that money.
Okay.
480.
Okay, Ed, we just got to remember that we need to keep the testing, keep people excited about going and getting tested, and not lose momentum. I think it's we've been doing it for 5 weeks now with our mobile testing. We just got to keep coming up with new ideas, be creative, and keep people invigorated about going and getting tested. I know I went for my 5th time yesterday, and it's like, all right, I got to go do that again. It's just part of your daily grind. So as long as we keep people involved in it, I think we'll be okay. It's just hard to get that done, especially as we come up to Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas. We'll still be doing it, and we got to keep people excited about going out, taking time out of the day and getting tested. So keep up the good work. I appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, and the mask. We do have a campaign, Mask Up. I know they get in the way. I know we sound muffled. I wish we could take them off, but I definitely don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable about wearing one or feeling like they got to take one off to talk. That's not something that is viewed in positive light anywhere around right now. And so please don't keep them on if you want them on, or you take them off if you want them on. That's my opinion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ed, are you finished? Do you have any more?
Mr. Chairman, through the board, I am finished. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Ed? Nothing? Okay. Anything else, Rebecca?
Not on this item, thank you.
We already did the banner one, so we'll move on now to board member announcement. Supervisor Valley.
I think I covered it. I'll just reiterate for the calendar, the meeting that took place yesterday with Ed Hill and Ulissa Gonzalez, who's the office manager there. I'll keep Ed posted. We got a nice logistics set up out the gate, and we're going to work together. And we'll put out a pastor's challenge in Corcoran. We already have a list of all the churches in Corcoran, and the church is fine with us trying to get a little competitive and ask those pastors to send their congregation on that Sunday. They're to Corcoran. We're going to be there about 10 hours and looking to bring back some very impressive numbers for you.
Very good.
Yes, sir.
Supervisor Peterson.
Yeah, not a lot. Did receive a call on issues related to 198 and 16th, the on-ramp, off-ramp there. One of the residents there on the corner has had numerous vehicles through his fence. And I know that, Caltrans is in control of that, but we may have to encourage them to maybe put a rail in there or something, because I doubt they're going to close it. And but anyways, that's all I have.
That's before D Street, D Street exit, westbound? Or?
It's just on the, both sides of 16th Avenue, on and off.
Cars are coming off it and going into somebody's front yard?
Well, into their property, their fence.
Yeah. What do we do with that? A letter or?
Yeah, it's a conversation that I think Kevin and Dominic can
Yeah,
have
we
with
can have
Caltrans.
it at the CART meeting.
KCAG.
KTAG. Sorry. Yeah. Kings County Association of Governments, Caltrans director will be there. And we tell them our concerns and they look into it.
Yeah. So it's it would be the southeast resident there. They fixed their fence, 3 times in the last 2 months. People keep going right through.
Put a roundabout there. That's going to be the recommendation.
Yeah,
exactly.
Supervisor Fagundes.
I'm good.
Supervisor Neves.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First 5 meeting, heard the fiscal reports. Unfortunately, we don't have the audits completed, so we'll have to have a special meeting this month. Those audits and annual reports have to be filed by November 1st, so we'll have to have a special meeting sometime the end of this month to get that done. South Fort Kings continues to meet. We're in the process of adopting policies. South Fort Kings is a relatively new organization, and so we are tackling the regarding data collection and protection, especially as we start protecting well information and water usage. Calvans, we continue to meet and received updates on the system operations, as well as some pretty tough news with the insurance premiums. With all the fires and all the losses in the state of California, there are very few insurance companies wanting to issue coverage, and that premium is going to be extremely high. So that could be also another challenge for Calvans as we continue to lose market share and continue to have increase in operational costs. We also continue to get updates on the COVID-19, especially in the ag industry transportation vans. That population is used to wearing masks, used to using hygiene in the food services industry or harvest industry. Unfortunately, the Calvan side is a little tougher population. And so that we continue to work through those issues. Had a couple of meetings yesterday on more permanent housing for the homeless population, and we continue to search out options for that rather than the current hotel motel situation. Alvarado House has been working on a project. Unfortunately, it took a lot longer with COVID and everything else, but they started in about January or February, and now they are in October, and hopefully by the end of this month, they'll have their operation open. And so we might have a chance to go up and tour that shelter home project and see how that works. Also, the passing of Coach Ross. Coach Ross was had a 29-year history of coaching basketball, both at the high school and the college level. Last 2 seasons have been at West Hills College Lemoore. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you. I sat in for you on the Tachi-Yokut MOU.
Yes.
And it was a very good discussion with their council. I think we made a lot of progress. I think our council and their council both work well together, and look forward to getting it done. I believe they have a drop dead date by November 15th, correct? So They want it done and we want it done. So I think we're moving forward. So I think the next meeting is going to be this week. I told them to consider you for the sit-in. I know I sat in for you. I don't have a whole lot to add, but
Yeah.
you got a lot of history with
No,
it.
no, and I appreciate you doing that. Yeah, because we're continuing to try to get, this Calvan's deal situated. We also have an issue with Calviva I have this week, and as well as the South Fork Kings. I don't think the South Fork Kings will be too difficult.
I think it's the same day.
Yeah, it's probably Thursday. It's all usually on Thursdays, and so yeah, if you can do that, I'd certainly appreciate it because
The South Fork or the MOU?
no, probably the MOU because the South Fork's 5:30 in the evening. I can do that one. All of my evening events have pretty much canceled. I don't have any high school or college events.
No problem.
So yeah, but
I just supervise anyway, so.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, we have and I think I talked about it a little bit last time. Calviva, the governor has changed the reimbursement premiums for managed care, Medi-Cal managed care. And so we're losing, we thought we were going to lose about $1 million a month. It's closer to $1.7 million. And he has no intentions of changing the premium between now and January. So which means we'll have to bleed more red ink between now for a couple of months. And so we're trying to figure out how to.
He's taking the money for the train.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But I know our projections were a little bit off, and our enrollment continues to rise with the economy. We're probably close to. Yeah, I think we're. We have several challenges. We have a higher population that we're trying to serve and a lower premium that we're trying to serve them with, and so it's a somewhat of a difficult issue. And then we also are going through the audit for that organization as well. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, I didn't get a chance to view the email, but I think there's a memo that could be forwarded to all the board, but especially Soup Nevs on, I think, what was it? Was it everything cleaned up from coming out of the meeting last week? Is that what I saw this morning that we got from the tribe?
Oh, we're just continuing our negotiations, and that's from another revision from the meeting last week, and we'll be working on that.
Yeah, they need time. They need 2 days to review it.
Yeah.
That's on Thursday.
That's something that could be forwarded, so if Soup Nevs wants to review it, but you're not missing much, sir. It's 2 lawyers going back and forth like a ping pong.
Yeah, but it's good. It's good communication.
But it's good.
Dialogue.
It's good. It is very, I mean that in a positive sense, but that's the bulk of the meeting there at this point.
Okay, we'll move on now to board correspondence. Rebecca.
There's a few things in correspondence from the SPCA. Your board received a letter regarding a long-term lease agreement and donation of land. From Southwestern and Pacific Specialty Finance Incorporated, there's a notice of their business closing in Hanford, and it resulted layoffs occurring. Regarding that, from the California Public Utilities Commission, your board received an email regarding various proceedings and upcoming hearings that they are having in the month of October. From the Greater Chamber, your board did receive notice of an upcoming event that will change. The Public Safety Appreciation event will now be a video that is putting together right now. So there will be no actual event, and that will be done via video because of COVID-19. Also, Friday, October 30th, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. will be the Battle of the Badges blood drive out in the county parking lot in front of Lacey Boulevard. General election, Tuesday, November 3rd, and also the CSAC, California State Association of Counties annual meeting, online meeting from November 12th through 19th. Registration is still open for that. Upcoming agenda items, we'll have the weekly COVID-19 update next week. From elections, we'll have a weekly update. The district attorney will bring a domestic violence awareness month resolution to the board. From the community development agency, several items. We have a resolution delegating authority to execute indemnification and reimbursement agreement, a public hearing for a modification of the Williamson Act program, and also a notice of non-renewal on the Williamson Act contract. From the Health Department, there'll be an allocation agreement for the tobacco control program. From JTL, we'll have an update on the small business program. Also upcoming, there will be a contract that comes back to your board, a contract amendment for the City of Avenel for fire services. And also, as Ms. Bouguet mentioned earlier, an update on Project Home Key. And that's all I have for upcoming agenda items. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on now to closed session, conference labor negotiator meet and confer, government code section 54957.6. Negotiator Rebecca Cabell, Henny Ring, Jay Johnson of Liberty, Cassidy Whitmore. Blue Collar SEIU, Detention Deputies Association, Deputy Sheriff's Association, Firefighters Association, General Closia, Probation Officer Association, Prosecutors Association, Supervisors Closia, and Unrepresented Management. Lady, expecting any reporting out?
I do not.
No reporting out, and we'll adjourn until next Friday, next meeting on October 20th at 9 a.m. Thank you very much.